Okay, now we turn to someone who was recently named the top-ranked oil analyst according to the Wall Street Journal's Best on the Street survey. He says oil prices are poised to fall. Well, here to tell us why is Fedel Gheit. He is Managing Director of Oil and Gas Research at Oppenheimer Co. And Fedel, always great to talk with you.
Good morning.
Okay, so why do you say oil prices are poised to fall?
Well, oil prices were $32 late last year, and a few weeks ago they reached $72. A $40 increase in oil prices in about 6 months period is, in my view, is not a reflection of what's happening on the street. Demand continues to decline, supply is ample, but yet oil prices more than double. The $40 increase in oil prices, in my view, 50% was pure speculation. The other 50%, or probably half of it, was currency. The weaker dollar pushed oil prices higher, and the other half because of OPEC cut. Again, it's an artificially maintained oil price, and if the economy does not recover anytime soon, if we clamp down on speculators, I think oil prices will be closer to 50 than they are closer to 70.
Now, do you expect it to be a hard fall, Fedel, or do you expect it to be sort of incremental going forward?
Well, again, it's like, it really depends. Right now in Washington, they are reviewing the CFTC and the SEC. They're bickering over who is going to get control of what. The fact of the matter, we have no regulation. It's still an open market. It's a gambling hole, and that has to stop. And when and if that happens, I can assure you that oil prices will have to come down. How fast and how soon? Again, it will depend what happens to the economy. The economy does not look as going to turn around anytime soon.
Right.
We are going to see more bad news before we see good news. So my view here, in the next 6 months or so, we are not going to see anything positive to make us think that the economy is going to be better next year. Hopefully, beginning early next year, we are going to see some sign of all the stimulus package and all the other stuff.
Right, and therefore you may see some demand. But Fedel, I want to get back to the issue of OPEC, because you mentioned earlier that the reason why we've seen a gain in oil price partly has to do with OPEC and their output cuts. We are getting some headlines, though, from the Kuwaiti minister saying that, in fact, OPEC will not cut production at the September meeting. And I want to ask you, Fedel, I mean, how far along? I mean, have they completed all their output cuts or no?
Not really. They are about 2/3 there. There's still more to be done. You really cannot take what they say at face value. At the end of the day, they need the money. They keep saying $75 oil is the just price, and yesterday I heard one of them saying 60 is the good price. They are very happy to have oil prices over 40, so $60 is a bonus. So they know for a fact that oil prices are not supported by supply-demand fundamentals.
Okay, Fedel, I've got to interrupt you because we're getting some headlines right now coming out on the Bloomberg terminal. The U.S. is filing a WTO, World Trade Organization, complaint against China over export restraints, and this is the first complaint the Obama administration is making against China within the WTO. Let's bring in Peter Cook right now for more on these headlines. Peter.
Yeah, this announcement, Betty, is coming from the U.S. Trade Representative Ron Kirk. He's holding a news conference here in Washington at this hour. Specifically, the complaint, it's a formal complaint, and what it requests is consultations with China over limits on the exports of specific raw materials. What we're talking about here, as I understand it, things like zinc, tin, tungsten, yellow phosphorus, things that are used, for example, in steel production, some aircraft manufacturing. The U.S. has raised concerns that this is hurting America's competitive stance against China in some of these areas. So what's happening here, again, is the first step here is a formal request for talks with China. And if that does not resolve this dispute, then it would go to a formal complaint to the WTO, a formal hearing at the WTO, which could, as we all know, Betty, could take years to resolve. So this is a shot being fired by the USTR at China.
Okay, Peter, thanks so much for expanding on that for us. Let's get back to Fedel Gheit, though, to talk more about oil. And Fedel, very quickly, you know, I want to ask you about the impact of the Iranian turmoil right now on oil prices. Is there going to be any impact going forward?
Well, there is no real impact. You have to remember, the world there's plenty of oil right now. There is no shortage. OPEC is cutting back about 4 million barrels a day. The Iranian government put out about 2 million barrels in the world market. OPEC can, in 2 weeks, make up for any supply disruption from there.
Okay.
The Iranian government needs oil revenue more than the rest of the world needs their oil. So obviously, they cannot stop oil export sales.
Fadel, we're out of time, but thanks so much. Oppenheimer's Fedel Gheit.